welcome to Glitch Please. I'm back.
You're back.
Yeah, I'm back. Oh, and I'm Ashley.
I'm Gus.
I'm back, and I'm Cole.
Cole, is it Cole?
I'm not
This
back.
is the first time you've been on.
Yes.
So we're gonna
get
to know you a little bit better.
Oh, well, thanks.
And we want to, before we get too much into getting to know Cole, we want to just thank our sponsors for this episode. This episode of Glitch Please is brought to you by Blue Apron and the Rooster Teeth Store, both of which we'll talk about in more depth in just a little bit. But
the Rooster Teeth Store, you say?
The Rooster Teeth Store. Store.roosterteeth.com. Roosterteeth.com/store.
Whatever you like.
Yeah.
So I've been traveling.
World traveler.
World traveler.
We had a theory
Okay, hit me.
that you traveled to Australia at that time specifically to get the Animal Crossing mobile game.
Oh, can I just tell you, that was quite the blessing. I did have to create, go through all the steps of creating an Australian iTunes account and do all that. I was following along step by step. There's some really tricky things to setting up an iTunes account for a foreign country.
Yes, I've had to do it for a lot of Japanese games.
Yeah, well, and a lot of the instructions that they give you are sort of weird too, because with something like Animal Crossing, I call it Animal Crossing Camp. So you go through and you set up the account, and that's all fine. But you find that when you sign in, you're immediately prompted to put in credit card information of some kind.
Yeah.
Which obviously
You can't do.
can't do.
Yeah.
But there are it depends very much if you how you go into it.
Yeah.
If you go into the game first and then have to attach an account, then it gives you an option to skip payment options.
Okay.
But if you do it through the phone, it doesn't give you that option. You just have to fiddle with it a little bit. It's kind of
The
frustrating.
thing that sucks is they kind of change it every so often. There was a game I was trying to download from Japan, and it was like, okay, first I have to find an address. So I live at the embassy. I don't know if you knew this.
Okay.
I live at the embassy now.
We all live
That's a hell of a
really.
commute.
Yes, because it's just an address that never changes.
Okay.
I can always stay there. And then if you did it on the computer, you could skip. If you did it on your cell phone, you had to put in a credit card.
Okay.
Okay.
So I had to, I tried to make an account, so that email was burned. So I had to make another email that was like, okay, this is...
Cole really lives in Japan at gmail.com.
Exactly. It was pretty close. And so it's like, okay, well now now I'm going to do it on the computer and get it in. But then I wanted to buy stuff in the game. So how do I do this? So then you just go to websites and buy iTunes gift cards from other locations.
Clever,
Yeah.
Cole.
Clever girl.
I'm a little bit I've been playing the Animal Crossing a fair bit, but I've actually fallen off, not because I don't like it, because I do. It's because when it comes out in the U.S., I'll put it on my U.S. account so that I can actually do stuff with it and
Gotcha.
connect it to my friends and everything. So I've been going through, and you get the little thing, you log in every day and you get a bonus. And so I went through that. I got a really cute skin for my van. It was,
Was it down by the river?
Van, yeah. Remember the 3DS that came out, the Animal Crossing 3DS?
Of course.
The white one with it had all the little icons on it. So they actually gave you one of the rewards if you had a 10-day login streak was they gave you a skin for your van that was all those icons. So I made sure I got that. And then I got depressed because I'm going to switch over to the US account. I don't know if or when that reward will come up again. And so I just kind of got sad.
Oh, so it's a temporary, a time-based reward?
No, but I'm going to lose it when I switch accounts.
And then is it...
I don't think I can gift it.
I guess it's like a random reward as well, so...
I don't know if they're random or if they just they set out, because you can see what's going to be in your streak. Okay. And then I guess you start a next streak.
You start streaking.
So, okay, yeah, the streak for
We're going streaking.
US streaking might be different than Australian streaking.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
So it comes out, there's no solid release date for it, right? It's just November?
November, yeah.
Well, we've started that.
That's this month, yeah. We have begun that.
We're there. I think a lot of people are expecting it next week.
Oh, really? I was thinking end of November,
Thanksgiving.
Last day.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'm still a little bit curious what Nintendo's doing with this exactly, because all of the other titles have been the canary in the coal mine for console titles. But we haven't heard anything about an Animal Crossing one yet.
We hadn't heard anything. Have we heard anything about Odyssey by the time Super Mario Run initially came out?
Not exactly. We knew that we figured there was going to be one, and marketing materials had leaked showing, launch marketing materials showing Mario, and then those all changed between that leak and launch to all be Zelda-based. So
Gotcha.
the speculation is that Mario got quietly delayed because they hadn't given it its date yet, so they could delay it, and it's not really a delay.
Yeah.
But had been their initial strategy for why Super Mario Run released in December, and then you get to March, and hey, now there's a new Mario game, and everyone's all worked up over it. Or theoretically, I know Super Mario Run didn't work out quite the way Nintendo had hoped, but
That's okay.
you got.
They made Fire Emblem, and I think that's made up for it.
You like Fire Emblem?
Yeah.
Do you like what Nintendo's doing with their mobile stuff?
My wallet doesn't, but
So you do.
I do. I get super I'm a collector, and so I'm always like, okay, well, and I've also been like a big Fire Emblem fan since the first one that came to the U.S. on the Game Boy, or the Game Boy Advance. Yeah, it was Game Boy Advance. So like pretty much every title that's come out here since then I've bought, and I was like, okay, well I have to play and get my Fire Emblem children.
Okay, how do you feel about games like Fire Emblem Warriors, where it's you taking a lot of the characters that you like, but it's a completely different style of gameplay?
I love Dynasty Warriors.
Oh, so this makes you very
So this is like
happy.
the best of both worlds. Like, but I can understand like I have some friends who are like, not about it, and I get it. It's like, oh well, they want to play Fire Emblem, and it's not really how it works. But in their mind, it's like, oh well, I didn't get a Fire Emblem game because you made that.
Right, like
So-
it's an either or.
Yeah, even though they're still making like a new one for the Switch, and they just came out with one for the 3DS like a couple months ago.
That's a good one too.
Yeah, it was a remake of like an earlier one, Shadows of Valentia.
I think I played Awakening on the 3DS, but I can't remember anything about that. It was so long ago.
That was like, it was crazy because that was almost like a Final Fantasy situation where they were like, hey, Fire Emblem's kind of sucking, nobody's buying it. Let's get rid of it, but hey, let's put it to where your characters can bang and make little children. And
Or like, really, you add that to a game and you got an instant.
exactly, it was like, I don't know how they didn't see that was gonna be the case, because there was like shipping and like, oh, you can marry her and her, and then of course like, you get into the meta of like, okay, well, which character can you pass the skills on to their children?
Right, like how to make the best.
Yeah, it was, I went to a dark place. I was like,
You were you child engineering.
yeah, I was like, okay, well, they can't get Gale Force, which allows you to attack again, so you're out. You don't get to marry anyone.
I don't care how you feel about each other.
So, but yeah, I like Fire Emblem a lot. Even like they made the Shin Megami Tensei crossover. I'm forgetting it right now, but it was pretty much like Persona mixed with Fire Emblem.
Okay, so you play the Shin Megami Tensei games.
Yes.
Okay, I started playing Persona. Super into it now.
Yeah.
I've never played the main series.
Yes.
But they've announced Shin Megami Tensei 5
yeah.
for the Switch. What do I need to know?
I'm not as familiar with that series. I just know like as far as gameplay goes, it's very similar to Persona. It's just none of like the social aspects. So there's none of like the social links.
So they take out like the high school sim part.
Yeah.
And so it's what, all fighting, or
More
is
so dungeon crawling, like RPG adventure, fighting,
interesting? Okay.
story driven.
All right. I want to check it out because everyone speaks so highly of it, and that worked out so well for me with Persona that that I'm happy to give it a chance. But the fact that Shin Megami Tensei has so many different kinds of spin-offs, and it's like it tweaks this and does this. I'm like, but I don't know all of the thematic differences.
Yeah.
Up until you said that, the only difference that I knew about for sure was that Persona typically focuses specifically on high school kids.
Yeah. I mean, other ones I've played, it still involves high school kids. It's just not as much about them being in high school.
Well, yeah, but like, isn't every JRPG like the world is always saved by teenagers?
Yeah.
No, it's like
Angsty
real life.
teens,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, It's true.
As you, or Hunger Games, whatever.
Yeah.
It's always about the teens.
Yeah. Adults don't do anything.
Well, the teens got all that energy.
Yeah.
Lazy.
Got all that, got all that
Sleep.
angst.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
I could sleep or save the world. I want to sleep.
Sleep.
I would probably make that choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you guys? What you've been playing?
I've been playing a lot of Shadow of War.
Okay.
So I liked the Shadow of Mordor game, so I've been really getting into Shadow of War.
Did you go back? You had stated
Yeah, I
previously that
wanted
you were going to
to,
go
but I
back and play
didn't.
Shadow of Mordor. You didn't. Okay.
Yeah, because I picked up Shadow of Mordor whenever there was that Steam sale where it was like $1.99 on PC.
Yeah, it was like what was it, $4?
It was really
in like
cheap.
the summer sale.
Yeah, so I picked it up then, anticipating playing.
Everyone should have bought it
But
at that point.
I've been so far behind on all games, I haven't gotten around to doing that. But I've been enjoying Shadow of War. One of the things, I talked about this with Ryan, I think it was one of the episodes where you were out, where he was complaining that Shadow of War is one of the games that supports crossplay, and he was complaining that you can only get it on the PC through the Windows Store and not on Steam for the crossplay, and he couldn't get it to work. But on my system, it worked fine, no problem. and I was talking with Cole about this before we started. I've been loving switching between the PC and the Xbox because my save so far it's just seamless. It's like, oh, I want to play 4K on my PC for a little while on a monitor like this close. It's like, okay, I'm gonna go sit on my couch and play, on my TV.
Somebody else needs to use the TV, hop back over the PC.
Right.
Well, it seems like Microsoft's solution to the, like, you lose access to the TV. Fine, go to your PC. You can still play it. I did that with ReCore. And had a lot of fun switching between them. Admittedly, a lot of it was kind of the novelty. Being like, I'm on my Xbox, I'm on my PC, I'm on my Xbox, I'm on my PC. I'm on the East Bank, I'm on the West Bank. But like ultimately, I never finished ReCore, so that sort of fell off. I think there's a possibility that the issue that Ryan's having is in order for the store stuff to work with Windows 10, you have to have at least the creators update. So if he's held off on installing any updates or anything like that, then it just doesn't work.
Yeah, he was getting some weird error. I don't remember what it was. I didn't really care at the time.
I remember when ReCore came out, the creator, like you had to have the creators update, which wasn't widely distributed yet. I had to go and I had to manually trigger it or manually find it somewhere. Yeah, by doing. I don't even remember what. I'm sure I talked about it. Back when when it came out, but it was such a hassle. So now at least you just install the update and you can do it. But if you're like Ryan and you're probably skeptical about doing Windows Update and installing the new stuff because then, hey, I don't know, messes with drivers, whatever, then you wouldn't have access.
I was having a weird issue on the PC where I felt like sometimes it would get really low resolution and then like stuff just looked fuzzy and it was really pissing me off. And then I realized my graphics drivers were out of date. I updated them and everything was fine after that. It's as someone who's played on the console for a long time, who used to play on PC a lot, it's like having to get back into the swing of regular updates and making sure everything's current. Yeah,
there's so much more that you have to tightly manage on your PC to get the most out of it.
Yeah, and Microsoft, or not Microsoft, was it WWII Monolith just released the 4K update for Shadow of War, the 4K cinematic pack, and I got that the other day. I really haven't had a chance to put it through its paces, so hopefully today and tomorrow I'll really be able to try it out.
Nice. Anything else you've been playing?
PUBG. But no, we've talked about that to death. They delayed updating, they delayed releasing vaulting onto the test servers.
No. I saw that. They said they were having some issues with it.
Yeah, it seems like they're really, trying to get to the point where they're releasing their public final version, and it seems like every week now they're having server difficulty and delays, and it's starting to make me a little worried. It's the first time in development so far that I've really been concerned.
Well, you got to wonder about the possibility to scale. Like they must be having trouble scaling to the degree of popularity that game has now.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Have they said whether they're going to release the new map before?
No, that's going to be after.
Okay.
I mean, because we're already in the middle of November.
Yeah. So with that with pushing vaulting back, it keeps pushing everything back.
I assume so. Yeah. Because I imagine that the new maps are built with a lot more vaulting in mind. Because this is a mechanic that they're going to assume that they have from day one.
I heard a lot of people talking about for a while Fortnite and like that as a potential alternative. Have y'all played?
Well, it's because their battle royale is free to play, so you can just like download it and play it. And honestly, they've been kind of cheekily marketing it as like PUBG except free and already on Xbox, and it's working for them.
Yeah, they hit 20 million players. Actually, I'm looking it up. They announced a couple days ago that they hit 20 million players of it, ahead of
Epic
PUBG.
Studios?
Yeah, that's Epic.
Yeah, so it kind of already has an established like development team behind it who knows kind of what they're going to have to go through, it seems.
Yeah, well, and one of the concerns that the PUBG developers Bluehole had is that PUBG is developed in Unreal Engine.
Yeah.
And they've worked closely with Epic on a lot of things for the game, and they've had a lot of very immediate concerns that now that Epic is like, we're doing our own, they would start adding things into the Unreal Engine itself that favor Fortnite.
Yeah, and of course, 3 days ago, Epic announced they hit 20 million players on Fortnite, and then 2 days ago, Battlegrounds announced they hit 20 million players. So they're neck and neck.
Yeah, I mean, it is important to note as well that those 20 million PUBG players have all paid to be there.
Yeah.
And so they are making an awful lot of money on that game. But 20 million players, that's such a huge milestone. Good for them.
And it's still, I believe, I looked the other day, on Steam, and it was still the top ranked game, or the most played game at the time I looked the other day. So it's still up there. And even right now, I'm looking within the last 30 minutes, they've had 1.4 million players, and the 24-hour peak has been 2.4 million players.
That's not really all that much.
Yeah. That's a lot. I think for comparison, I think Fortnite over the weekend right before Halloween, they said they had 800,000 concurrent players.
Yeah, which even that is a huge number.
Yeah. Right, that's also massive.
Yeah.
Press home to.
So that's what I've been playing.
Because I've been traveling, I have been playing primarily on Switch because it was just so easy. Having just such long-haul international flights is always tough. When I was flying to Australia, I played Stardew Valley, of course, and I have to say that is an excellent game for planes.
Yes.
Because it's got the short day loop, which is wonderful. Like you can just sit there and pull it out for 15 minutes, do a day, and then watch whatever airplane movie you didn't want to pay to see in theaters, or go to sleep or whatever. And usually those international flights will also have powered seats, so you can plug it in if you have any issues. But with Stardew Valley, it's not very demanding on resources, so the battery actually lasts a long time.
I think Gavin said he was able to do LA to Austin like 3 hours without depleting his battery totally.
Yeah, although I think even Zelda you can get 3 hours out of the Switch with, but I definitely noticed with Stardew Valley, I was like, wow, I feel like I'm playing a really long time. And so that was really great. Had to use Australian hotel internet to download Mario Odyssey. And that was painful, I can tell you that. But I got it. Played it a little bit on the flight back, which is one of the worst flights I've ever had because they did not have powered seats.
So
how do you have an international flight without powered seats?
Decide when you're gonna play.
Yeah, I had to meter it out. It was really difficult. I ended up watching, I don't know, the movie with Scarlett Johansson, Ghost in the Shell.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I should have. It's a movie that I should have seen.
I think the first 15 minutes of it on a recent flight, and I was like, no, I'd rather not.
Yeah, so I did have to meter out my Mario Odyssey. I at least travel with a battery pack at all times.
Oh, well, that's good.
So I have that. And that helped a bunch. I really like it.
Are you done with it yet, or how far are you?
I'm not done with it. I'm about at the halfway point.
Okay.
So I'm really enjoying it so far. I think it's charming as all hell. It does, I think the hat mechanic is.
How are you playing? Are you playing Joy-Con motion control, or
playing almost exclusively handheld mode, Joy-Cons attached to the Switch itself? Okay. And I understand that there's some moves that you can only do by detaching them, but there are, for some of them at least, alternative things that you can do if they're in docked mode. Like the tutorial that happens quite early on, where it says like, oh, you want to hit everything around you? Well, you need to flick your Joy-Con. Yeah, you go in and check the instructions. Or just push the left joystick in a circle, and then it does something quite similar. You're welcome.
Oh my gosh.
I normally never play with the Joy-Cons, but this game seemed to focus so much on the motion controls that I played Joy-Con the whole time. Normally I use like a Pro Controller or handheld mode, but I played the whole game with Joy-Cons in hand.
You?
I've been playing Odyssey, but I've been traveling a lot, like on the plane, and Mario is not a good plane game because I'm sitting there doing this, trying to spin in a circle, or like when you
just get your Joy-Cons in.
Yeah, but then I look really weird sitting in a plane. I'm like, ah. Or like when you become a fish and you have to move the Joy-Con to attack. And so I was like, okay, I couldn't do that. But yeah, I've been doing Odyssey, PUBG, Shadow of War. Yeah, Shadow of War.
Are you me?
And then there's, speaking of like Dynasty Warriors game, there's a Fate Extella on the Switch, which is one of those just beat 'em up.
Nice.
Kill 'em all.
Nice.
Yeah, I also played Odyssey and finished that, but I didn't collect all the moons. I know that there's a lot more to the game once you keep going. I think I'm only like at 200 moons.
Yeah, as I'm going, I'm just like trying to complete every area as much as I can before I go on to the next area.
I am too, but I worry that I burn myself out doing that. Like, I know that there are some moons that you're meant to come back later on and
there definitely are.
But I will spend a lot of time just trying to fill out that list for every single world and then trying to get as many as possible. And spending so much time there that I'm not going on and seeing the fun new things. I'm
Yeah.
trying to like find all the hidden nooks and crannies, which is great, but I may not be metering it out properly.
I tried to do that as well, but I eventually got to one level where there was like a portion of a level where I just couldn't do it,
Yeah.
and I found myself getting really angry at the game. I was like, I'm just gonna leave.
Yeah.
I'll just come back and do this later.
I think same thing happened where I saw a location. I was like, I want to be there. I need to get up there. How do I get up there? And I kept like running around the ground. I spent like far too long, like an hour running around this area. Like, how do I get up there? Okay, I'll figure it out later. And then I found out about the paintings. That's how you go to another world to get that extra location star. I was like, I'm not gonna be able to collect them all, or Moon, I'm not gonna be able to collect them all. I should leave.
Yeah.
But no, what I've liked about it is it kind of has taken the same path as like what Breath of the Wild did, and is allowing like play how you want to play.
Yeah.
Right. You can move on pretty quickly,
Yeah.
or you can stick around for a long
And there's really no punishment or no failure. I feel like if you don't do what you want to do or you die, it's like you lose a couple coins. You start pretty close to where you were. Like there's really no like, oh fuck, I have to do all of this again.
Yeah.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah, I'm digging it. All right, there's a lot that happened in the world of video game news this week. Okay, well, not a lot, but some things happened that I think we should definitely talk about. But we don't want to go into this on an empty stomach. So I'd like to thank Blue Apron for sponsoring this episode of Glitch Please. Choose from a variety of new recipes every single week. Let Blue Apron's culinary team surprise you, which is always fun. They're always good surprises. Recipes also aren't repeated within a year, so you'll never get bored. Now, some upcoming meals that they've got on their menu include, they sound amazing, and they might sound intimidating, like difficult to make, but they're actually not, and they take you through it. They've got crispy wild Alaskan pollock, seared steaks, and roasted chicken. Oh my God, I love seared steaks. Blue Apron's freshness guarantee promises that every ingredient in your delivery arrives ready to cook, or they'll make it right. You can customize your recipes every week based on your preferences, and Blue Apron has a bunch of delivery options, so you can choose exactly what fits your needs, and there's no weekly commitment, so you get deliveries when you want them. If you're super, super busy, you just don't have time, then you don't need to worry about finding time to cook a bunch of food. You can check out this week's menu and get $30 off your order with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/glitch. You're gonna love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron, so don't wait. It's blueapron.com/glitch. It's a better way to cook.
Big Blue Apron fan. Can't say enough good things about it.
Yeah, so when I was growing up, my mom had about 5 things that she was really good at cooking. She could do spaghetti with red sauce, and then there was like two casseroles that I actually don't know how to make, and I miss those. And there was like an egg and green chili breakfast thing. And so I grew up learning to cook a couple specific things. But nothing like really crazy, nothing creative. My mom always joked around that she could burn water. So
Impressive.
I didn't have a chef to teach me all these things, and it's actually been really fun, like learning and being like, oh, I can make this.
Oh, I know what that means now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm like, oh, yes, I see. And then you can, then I like to take that and then go experiment. Like I now make a whole bunch of soups. I'll just be like, yes, these things and these things, I know they go well together, so just take them and then I chuck them all in a pressure cooker and make food. So it's like,
I like soup.
it's a good like learning thing. Well, especially now that it's getting cold.
Soup's
so good.
underrated, I think.
Yeah.
We'll go for some good soup.
So thanks to Blue Apron for that. They are not only gonna fill your belly, they can also teach you things.
Yes.
And now let's get to the news.
Sonic fell.
Yeah, apparently the new Sonic game is everyone's punishment for really liking Sonic.
Yeah.
Just burn all that goodwill. Have you been playing
Somewhat. No, I haven't been playing it. But didn't I read that there's a Sonic movie in development?
it? Yeah, like a Sonic live action.
A hybrid
And I
live
think-
action
I
CGI.
think they may be going gritty with it.
Because why not? Like Dr. Robotnik's a drug dealer.
No.
Yeah, you excited? You sound excited.
Yeah.
Have you been playing Sonic?
No.
Not yet?
No, I haven't. I went to Miles yesterday. I was like, Miles, you're the Sonic guy. Tell me about Forces. He's like, no. He's like, get it away from me. He was like, what was the one that came out just before Mania? He was
Mania,
like, Mania
yeah.
was so good, just stick with Mania. But I feel bad. I feel bad for Sonic Team. I feel like they have a lot of good ideas, maybe not so good. And they're like, let's just do it. Let's get it all in. Let's push it all in.
I think the issue that the Sonic team is having is that they mostly have ideas, and what they're not doing is executing on them.
Correct. Exactly.
Like they have so many ideas, and they're like, we have to change it up every single time. And I get that. You know, there are other franchises that will do, like, let's take Mario, for example, because we have been, you know, we were talking about that, and everyone is happy with the hat. And before the hat, you know, Mario Sunshine, they were like, oh, here's your water jetpack. And before that, there's 64, and here's your castle, and you're going to jump
Here's
around all the
3D.
different worlds. And so, you know, there are franchises as well, and Mario is one of those where they're like, we have to do something new every time. But I think Sonic Team is like, we have to change the entire game every single time. And I think that that's hurting it because where, you know, and Ryan will, I'm sure, disagree with this. He's not here to disagree with it, but I can hear him disagreeing in my head anyway, is that where you get franchises like Mario that are in a lot of ways iterative, where they refine elements of the gameplay every single time and then add something new to it. I feel like Sonic is just changing so much that they're not perfecting the core.
Maybe if they now might be a good time to look back and say what has worked and what hasn't worked, and let's begin that iteration
Because
process.
that worked for Sonic Mania.
Right.
You know, they were like remixing levels. They're like, let's take some new elements and include with the old elements, and people were really, really happy with it.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you throw it back to Sonic Team, and they're like, well, it's all new again.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, just stop.
Yeah, like I don't get some of Sonic Team's decisions. Like I remember right after Generations came out, they were like, "Hey, Generations amazing. Y'all gonna do it again?" And they're like, "No. We're gonna make Lost World and then Sonic Boom.
We got to do something new.
Yeah, gotta do something new, something fresh. The kids need fresh."
Got to go fast.
Yeah. Well, not so fast, because Lost World was the one where it was like,
Gotta go slow.
clunky. He was like, well, fast hasn't worked. Let's try slow.
Yeah.
But
Slow's the new fast.
But then eventually they were like, well, it worked for Generations. Let's kick back to 2D Sonic. And what was awesome with Mania was like they were like, hey, let's bring in people who care about Sonic and have like fans help design levels.
What would you think about bringing in a team that likes these games to make these games?
No. That'll never work. But then Miles and I were talking about it yesterday. It felt like with this new one, because he kind of explained some of the stuff that people aren't liking about it to me, was that like it felt like in the development meetings, it was like, what do you want? Oh, well, we'll put that in. What do you want? We'll put that in. Like every single person got to put
was a
in what they
yes,
wanted.
yeah.
Yeah. Like that Key and Peele Gremlins 2 skit, where it's like, oh, is there this kind of gremlin? Yeah, that's in it. But yeah, and then I just feel bad for Sonic fans. But then again, I also wonder, like, is it making money? Like they keep making Sonic games. And
They do keep making money, and it's one of
So-
those things that I guess I have difficulty understanding sometimes because it feels like everyone is always so mad at Sonic, and they keep putting them out, and they keep putting them out because they're making enough money on them to justify another one.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if this is just one of those like weird love to hate sort
Yeah.
of relationships that Sonic and Sonic fans have, or what is happening exactly. But
Yeah.
they clearly are making enough money.
yeah,
to keep going.
They're gonna keep making them, and I'm sure. They have a television show. They have
A movie.
coming out. So they're not. It's not like they're like,
We're just waiting for the Sonic Extended Universe.
Yeah. Ooh. The Sonic Dark Cinematic Universe.
Yes.
Exactly. Well, speaking of iterative, Niantic has announced their next augmented reality game to follow on Pokemon Go, and it is
Digimon Go.
Harry Potter.
So does that mean they finally fixed Pokemon Go?
Of course not. There are a lot of people still playing Pokemon Go. I'm not one of them, but you are?
Yeah.
Have you been doing raids?
Yeah, we have a group over at the other building that is like
The Secret Lab.
the Secret Lab, RT Secret Labs, where like every day they'll be like, oh, Entei, let's go, Raikou. But that's about all I do, because when I actually got back into it when I was in New York, and it was like, oh, well, there's a raid everywhere, and there's actually stuff to do here.
New York is insane for
Yeah.
Pokemon Go.
It's the best. But then I came back here, I was like, oh, well, I can't level up anything because I don't walk anywhere. And then luckily we have a gym right next door to us. So we're just like, okay, well, we can every day have a raid come up. We have like a bunch of overpowered
Oh, sorry. I
people.
thought you meant like a gym. And I was like, so wait, do treadmills work for hatching your eggs? Or
That'd be awesome, but no. sadly.
they do a little bit now. If you have like a Apple Watch or
Yeah.
something like that, the wearables where they'll track the steps, not just distance now, but you don't get full credit for it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It came out and I was like, ooh, I'll play again, and then got on the treadmill, got like very little credit and went,
Nah,
yeah, screw
this
you.
is not worth it.
If you can't convince me to get fit, nothing can.
If you can't do it with video games, what's the point?
Right.
Even Pokemon, like.
But
Okay, so what is this Harry Potter game that they're talking
okay,
about?
so this is from their announcement. It says and the actual name is not Hogwarts Go, although I think it should be.
Go Hogwarts.
Yeah.
With Harry Potter Wizards Unite, players that have been dreaming of becoming real-life wizards will finally get the chance to experience J.K. Rowling's Wizarding World. Players will learn spells, explore their real-world neighborhoods and cities to discover and fight legendary beasts, and team up with others to take down powerful enemies. So that's the full extent of what's known about it so far. I guess word is that it's going to take a lot of gameplay inspiration from Ingress, the game that Niantic put out before Pokemon Go, which had a little bit more of that. Like Pokemon Go focuses very heavily on the Pokemon element of it, whereas Ingress was very much about locations and like defending a location and making that yours, and then that way you could build out the sort of triangles of territory and control more territory than the other team. And so theoretically it might work on that, but I am very curious how heavily they're going to lean into the Fantastic Beasts and where to find them elements, because they do say in here, discover and fight legendary beasts. And so I don't know if they're going to try and somehow mix like the Pokemon Go collectathoning or what it is that they're going to do exactly, because you can't just exclusively fight, dark wizards?
Or if it's like you're collecting spells.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, in order to fight this thing, if I have this spell, this is better to use against a griffin or something.
And I'm also very curious how all of the spell casting is going to work.
Yeah.
All I want is augmented reality Quidditch.
How will that work?
You ride around on your phone.
Right, yeah, and you look at your phone, you can see everyone else as well, and you see like a virtual snitch flying around.
And then you just have to catch the snitch.
Yeah, you gotta like hit it with your phone.
Throw your throw your phone at it.
So many broken phones. Yeah, I'm very curious to see what it's gonna be like executionally. I think that doing it around the Harry Potter franchise is brilliant.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure they've got to have some kind of. Hopefully, they have some killer idea for it.
Yeah.
And it's not just a rehash of Pokemon Go's. Oh, look, there's something near you. Catch it. You caught it.
There's something else near you.
And now the game doesn't work anymore. Yeah.
What if all the spells use the like the motion sensors in phones, and you have to actually like motion spells?
That'd be interesting.
Would you do it?
No.
'Cause, I mean, like think about it, like you're out in public being like woo, or it uses your vocal input, and so you're like Wingardium Leviosa, and that's how you have to cast your spells. You actually have to like talk at it. Would you do it?
I just want to see a group of people taking on like a big dragon. Wingardium Leviosa, like all of them shouting at their phones. That'd be awesome. Wow.
Alohomora.
That just reminds me, not to get too far off the Harry Potter, have you all seen the teases for Stardew Valley developers' next game?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, do you mean the developer, or do you mean Chucklefish, the
Chucklefish,
publisher?
yeah.
Yeah. The
Oh,
Harry
Chucklefish's next
Potter.
game.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not actually Concerned Ape. Chucklefish has helped like publish Stardew Valley for consoles and stuff, but they didn't develop it at all.
Okay.
They still don't have a name for it,
They worked
right?
on some of the ports. Yeah, they don't have a name for it. They've been calling it Spellbound, just because they call everything something bound as like their code names. Although I think Spellbound is a cute name anyway.
Isn't that already taken?
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's been a Spellbound game, but that's like saying that you can't call something Doom.
Well, I think Bethesda might take
Is there
a bridge to that.
But
make a game called Doom.
They went after Mojang for making a game called Scrolls.
That's true. That's very true. But is the Spellbound IP still even a thing?
I have no idea.
God, at this point, I wonder if like how far gone the developer of Spellbound is.
There is currently an indie game on Steam called Spellbound.
I thought Spellbound, was that the one where you're a wizard and you get to combine different ingredients to make spells?
It was it's an older game, I think.
Okay.
I don't recall much about it, to be honest.
Okay.
I have this very vague picture in my head of the box.
Yeah, and like
So that's how I
text.
used-
I remember the text.
How I used to catalog all games was like, oh yeah, that was a cool box.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an early access indie VR game called Spellbound currently.
Yeah, it's a VR game where I went over to Miles's and he was like, okay, you can pick up the fire and pick up the ice and icy hot beam.
Yeah, that's what this looks
Yeah.
like. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so Apparently,
Maybe.
you can make a game called Spellbound,
Maybe.
but someone's already doing that.
Right. I wonder what they'll actually end up with. It's fine. But yeah, I'm excited about it.
Yep.
I'm optimistic.
Yes.
And then, so this is some bad news.
Uh-oh.
Sorry.
I love bad news.
This is about microtransactions.
Uh-oh. I don't like this kind of bad news.
Microtransactions are overtaking revenue for the games themselves.
Yee.
Specifically, there are two examples. One is Take-Two, and the other is
No
Ubisoft.
surprise there. Oh.
Both of which just had quarterly earnings calls with investors, and microtransactions, as you would expect, have come up. They're pretty prominent. Ubisoft is like they spoke a little bit less about it, but they did say that what they call player recurring investment. It's,
PRI is how we call it in the business.
so that's in-game items, DLC, season passes, subscriptions, microtransactions, anything that players paid for in addition to the game itself, was responsible for $202 million during the first 2 quarters of their year and made up 51% of total digital revenue. They made more money from microtransactions than they did from digital game sales.
Wow.
Well,
That's huge.
microtransactions, season passes, DLC, all that stuff. PRI. So it's outgrown their digital category, and their digital category is growing a ton. The digital sales jumped 83% year over year, which is huge. Digital sales jumped 83%, and digital game sales increased 57% year over year. So digital
sure
game
they
sales
won't
are
say-
going up,
they won't
but
say
they've
if
been dramatically outpaced.
And they won't say if physical
By
goes
PR.
down to offset that.
Yeah, but
I would assume so.
They're dropping. I mean, I know some estimates, and I think it was Ubisoft estimates put digital game sales at 80% now. Like it's a pretty huge change. For the most part, the reasons that people would buy physical now have been reduced to my internet's terrible. It would take me 3 days to download it. There are no stores in my area. Oh, no, that would be a reason to go digital. Or like I have metered. I have metered internet, and I can only download so many, and games are 1 billion gigs now.
Yeah.
Or I want to trade it in later.
It's true. All valid reasons.
Physical prizes with the game.
Yeah, or
like
physical
art
stuff.
books
Yeah.
or stuff like collectibles that you can get by getting it.
Yeah, so the reasons for doing physical have been reduced, but it's pretty crazy to see. And then the other one, Take-Two. So Take-Two, they're the publisher for Rockstar, for 2K, both of which are really big companies. Now they have a different term for it. They're recurrent consumer spend, or RCS. And that includes microtransactions, DLC, season passes, loot boxes, all that stuff. That accounted for 48% of the company's net revenue.
Did you say 48%?
48% of their
pretty big.
net revenue entirely. And Straselnik has some choice quotes in here, so I'm just going to read these to you. He's the CEO of Take-Two. He says, the business, once upon a time, was a big, chunky opportunity to engage for
Wait. Did he say chunky opportunity?
chunky. But I get what he's saying here. Like, you would spend chunks of time with the game.
Okay.
Like he said,
Gotcha,
you
gotcha.
would spend tens of hours or perhaps 100 hours, but it would take place in a chunk. Like, let's say Red Dead Redemption,
Okay.
where you got it, several years ago, you played the shit out of it, and now you're just like, Red Dead Redemption 2 is going to be great.
Right.
Meanwhile, you got GTA Online, and people are playing it every single day.
Right.
So that's turned into ongoing engagement day after day, week after week. You fall in love with these titles and they become part of your daily life. We've said that we aim to have recurrent consumer spending opportunities for every title that we put out at this company. So Red Dead Redemption 2, gonna have them.
Confirmed.
Yeah.
Yes. It may not always be an online model. It probably won't always be a virtual currency model, but there will be some ability to engage in an ongoing basis with our titles after release across the board, but more specifically, opportunities to pay to continue to engage with titles after they come out.
Of course. Why not? Opportunities to pay to engage.
We're
They're doing you a favor.
We're so fortunate. We're so fortunate. He also justified a lot of this saying, entertainment is a want-to-have business, not a must-have business, and people vote ultimately with the usage. And the usage on, and this was about NBA 2K18 specifically, is up 30% in terms of average daily users. The title itself, say, unit sales were up 20% year over year. So people clearly are voting that they love NBA 2K18, and the reviews reflect that as well. So that's
And there was quite a bit of controversy about the microtransactions in that title.
Yeah, so that quote specifically was a response to concern over the backlash that 2K got over the NBA 2K18 microtransactions.
I would say it's less a response and more a middle finger that showing, you know what, we're right.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, they were like, we take the feedback very seriously.
We know
However,
what we're doing.
the feedback they're getting is like there are some angry people on the internet talking about it, but guess what? There are a whole bunch of people, or you know what, a couple of very rich people over on this side who are spending so much that why would we stop?
Right.
Yeah, that's the thing of like, especially with title like FIFA, where, I mean, I think I was talking, my roommate works with their tech department, and he was like, yeah, we make a lot off of the microtransactions in FIFA just alone on the Ultimate Team. So like people buying packs to try to get Ronaldo.
Ultimate Team is like one of the biggest revenue drivers for FIFA now.
But it's like, he was like, yeah, like 95% of the revenue is from 5 people. Or 5%. Not 5 people, 5%.
Okay.
Sorry, 5%.
5 people, like those 5 people got crazy teams.
But it's like people in Dubai who are just like, well, this is what I do all day.
I mean, it's the same thing that we've seen with mobile for years. It's the whales. But it means that, you know, we have on the one side this, what is honestly probably a vocal minority saying, I won't buy anything with microtransactions in it. If the game has a microtransaction, I won't buy the game. And, you know, I'm going to vote with my wallet this way. And then you have a not vocal, not giving a shit minority over on the other side that says, money.
It's just money.
Just like, it's just money. I have so much, like, what is money even?
Yeah.
And I don't have Ronaldo.
I'm like Scrooge McDuck. I'll dive into my money and we'll find Ronaldo on the bottom.
Exactly. You know, and they're voting with their wallets that way. And then, you know, somewhere in the middle you have people who are probably saying, I'll buy the game, but I'm not going to spend, you know, any money on microtransactions. Or you have people saying, I'll buy a couple microtransactions because, you know, like I'll buy some Overwatch loot boxes because, you know, they're doing all their new maps and characters and events and stuff for free, and I'm happy to support them beyond the initial $60 asking price because of their model. And then, you know, there's a scale there with these minorities on either side that are really pulling at the rope, I guess. But the way that it's going as of now, the people spending a lot of money are the ones winning.
Yeah, get ready for a lot more of this.
Yeah, I mean, with Take-Two saying every game is going to have some kind of way to spend. I don't know what that's going to look like in games that I'm very much looking forward to, and I'm now a little bit worried about, like Red Dead Redemption 2.
Okay,
I'm
so,
very, very excited.
Crazy idea then.
Okay.
Do you think we could eventually reach a point where AAA, you know, $60 titles pivot to a free-to-play model where you don't pay for the game anymore, and you end up with stuff like, oh, you've run out of time to play today. If you want to keep playing,
MMO.
add a, you know, pay us $3 to keep playing today.
Potentially, although I think we may instead end up in a situation with a lot of games where you pay the $60 entry fee, and then you still have that.
I don't know if anyone's appetite is that big yet, but we'll see.
I mean, it depends. You know, if you're getting loot boxes and single, you know, microtransactions in single-player narrative games, and if that works well enough that they make a profit off it, then they are going to probably push harder and harder in that direction.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is I also see them pushing single player out of the way. So they're being like, oh, well, in order to be competitive with this multiplayer online, you got to start spending money. You got to spend this extra. I mean, like Hearthstone is a perfect example of where you can play and you can earn packs, but like I haven't played in like a year, and if I hopped back in now, all of the decks that I want to play with are retired.
Right.
Which means that I can't hop into the new competitive scene.
You could play wild.
Yes.
But you couldn't, yeah.
So it's like this barrier to entry of like, oh, well, if you really want to be playing the game, you can play. But if you really want to play the game, you got to shell out some money to get these packs. And I mean, we're seeing like all these companies, EA shutting down Visceral and saying like, okay, well, we're not interested in this Star Wars single player.
Because we don't know how people will engage with it in an ongoing basis.
I think that concern may be overblown. I think, you know, that may have been a part of it, but I really think the death of single-player games is a little exaggerated at the moment.
Yeah, although there are, you know, I know that Ubisoft has said in the past that they are planning on reducing the number of titles that they put out in favor of a couple huge tentpoles every year that people can keep coming back to. You know, so I know that Ubisoft is really jumping on the games as a service thing. EA is pushing in that direction. I think we'll always have titles that don't. I think CD Projekt Red is a great example of a publisher that, even though I found out, I actually thought they were entirely privately owned, and that was why they weren't making any moves in this direction. They're actually a publicly traded company. But they, you know,
do
are
well
able
enough.
to, yeah, they do well enough that, or they manage their investors maybe, or they manage expectations or forecasts or whatever to be less aggressive, and so they haven't had to move in that direction. You know, but you have, I think you'll always have those kinds of developers. I don't think those will necessarily go away, but I think you'll see the bulk of major big titles definitely shifting towards games as a service.
Yeah, and I think to kind of say with the single player, I think we'll start seeing a kind of like Undertales, where it's the more indie titles that are able to like, oh, well, let's make a innovative single player experience that you don't have to come back and keep returning to. That you can go, okay, well, I want to get started. I want to make my first game. It can be a single player experience, and we're going to see more of those.
And there are some very advanced tools now that are available to smaller developers and to indie developers to make it easier to make a game on your own, or with a very small team. So I think we'll always have options, but I think the options might be different.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're down to some of the last really big holiday season titles that are coming out. Battlefront 2 comes out in, God, I forget what date it is right now, but next week?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's already available. I think if you have EA Access, you can play a little bit of the campaign already, like 3 hours or something.
Yeah, it's like 3 hours of the campaign, and then the multiplayer is fully unlocked for EA Access, and up to 10 hours of total gameplay. But the one of the biggest games of the year that just came out is Call of Duty World War II, which is, you know, Sledgehammer's new game going back to World War II, and is, I'm sure Activision hopes, a bit of a course correction for the franchise. So let's chat about Call of Duty a little bit.
COD.
I like glitches. So Call of Duty World War II just came out on Tuesday. Admittedly, I'm not a huge Call of Duty franchise player in the past. Do you play Call of Duty much?
I played Call of Duty 2.
Okay.
I played all of them up to Black Ops 2. Then I stopped. I have not played another Call of Duty game since Black Ops 2. I am interested in trying out World War II. I have not gotten to it yet, though.
Okay, great. Well, I'm calling in a ringer who can help educate us a little bit more. That's Edward. You want to come on?
Oh, damn, I didn't
Hey.
see you skulking back there. You need a microphone, dude.
Yeah. Come on in. Come on in. Here, we'll go. I'm going to scooch a little bit like this. Scooch.
What's going on?
Scooch.
Line frame? Okay, I'm
There you go.
Yeah, no, you're good. So, Edward, how much do you play Call of Duty? Like, do you play other Call of Duty games too?
I skipped Infinite Warfare
Most people did.
and Black Ops 3 because that's when it kind of got like a little too redonkulous for me. It was like 360 no scope, like clown zombies and stuff, and I was like, I don't. It was like Titanfall 2, but not as good, and that's why I skipped those. But I was excited to return kind of to nostalgic Call of Duty 2 feel.
Yeah.
Of like, I spent so much time playing those games. And back to that hashtag boots on the ground action. So I did pick this one up, and I'm enjoying it a lot.
So how is it as far as like gameplay wise?
It's still Call of Duty, and the campaign is interesting. It definitely feels like very Saving Private Ryan, like Band of Brothers.
When you say
kind of
okay,
stuff.
when you say something's interesting, it can be either good or bad. Isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah,
But I'm getting that, so-
you're like, well, that's
Interesting. It's
Yeah,
interesting in
exactly.
that it has these moments where it's very like historically like accurate and reverent, and then it has moments where it feels like Uncharted World War II. Like there's a train sequence that just Nathan Drake would like get a huge boner for. So I don't know if it knows like really what it wants to be of like this like over the top action Call of Duty or like this again like reverent World War II like story. But it's still good. It's still fun. And I'm enjoying the campaign. Multiplayer is still Call of Duty multiplayer. It's kind of like that slot machine. Like, oh, I died. Oh, I died. Here we go, and I died again. Like, just keep pulling it. Like, you just keep respawning so fast that you keep playing. But the new mode, the war mode, that has like the actual objective-based gameplay of, oh, go and build this bridge, and then you move on and destroy these ammo dumps, and then as the Axis, you're trying to defend those objectives. that's a lot of fun because I love the Battlefield series, and so it kind of is a mode more catered to that style of like your kill-death ratio is not important and it doesn't show it. There's no
So my kind of game.
Exactly, yeah. There's no kill streaks or anything like that. The problem with it is there's only 3 maps, so I want them to be more. I'm sure in DLCs there will be at least 1 per, and enough people are enjoying it and saying that's the best part of the multiplayer that hopefully they make more, like 2 per DLC. Or
how heavily do you think they studied Battlefield? Because last year, Battlefield 1 trounced Infinite
yes.
Warfare,
and it's great. I love Battlefield.
The worry for I think a lot of probably people at Activision is it possible for a single title in a franchise to be the turning point that you can't come back from?
I had just read, while I was skulking in the shadows, as Gus said, I had just read an article on, I think, GameSpot that said Sledgehammer originally meant to make Advanced Warfare 2. And so it's unclear if whether Activision was like, no, you can't, because of Infinite Warfare doing so bad. And they were like, no, you have to make World War II, or if they like kind of pivoted. But originally, apparently, they wanted to make Advanced Warfare 2, which I think would have been a really bad move if they hadn't gone back to World War II.
Yeah, I think they said that if they'd had their choice, they wouldn't have gone back to the past. That was like they felt like it was stepping backwards too far. The trick with these games, and this is something that that Battlefield 1 tackled last year and ended up, I think, needing to take some liberties with, is the technology of the era and the gunplay and how it all worked, because that's all a very different feel from super future, everything's crazy. It's slower. You don't have as many opportunities. You got to reload everything.
Plus, you have like real weapons that you need for reference. You can't be like, oh, well, no, it just does this.
Yeah.
And all these games, they want to like have the like great sound design, so they have to go like get it. Yeah. They can't just like mix some sounds together to make like a futuristic gun. It's like normally they have to go get these guns and shoot them and like record the sound.
Boot up the synth and be like,
exactly, just like this make
is a gun.
Yeah. No, I think Battlefield 1 did play a pretty big part. At the same time, though, I think it's more of them making a play for that nostalgia and seeing things like classic movie franchises getting rebooted and like TV shows being made again and stuff. I think they can go, hey, we can essentially make Call of Duty 2 with super great, visuals and kind of updated multiplayer, and it'll sell bananas. And so far, it has. A lot of people are picking it up, especially over Infinite Warfare.
Yeah, well, the stats coming out of it are pretty crazy so far, that it's like already doubling Infinite Warfare numbers.
Wow, it's only been a few days too.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact numbers that it's doubling. I do know that like current players is like 400% of what Infinite Warfare's was, and also it's the kind of game that it'll continue to sell. It's got a very long tail on it because it's Call of Duty.
Yeah, it's from launch. World War II has doubled Infinite Warfare sales.
Yeah, and that's keeping in mind that Infinite Warfare tied a lot of their sales to Modern Warfare. They sold so many of the $80 version just so people could get access to that one. If they hadn't had that, I'm very curious what their numbers would have been.
Much lower.
Yeah. It is refreshing, I think, like Battlefield 1, to get back into a game where it's like, okay, I have a gun, I'm going to point it at somebody and shoot, and like there's no like, oh, I got like a remote control hatchet I'm gonna throw across the map and like kill somebody who just spawned, and like, oh, get a drone that I control and stuff like that. It's like if you lose a gunfight because you were too slow to react or something like that, it seems just a lot more fair. Except when you get the nuclear weapon kill streak at the end and just like kill everybody. In the game. But it's still fine.
That's cool. Yeah. That's cool. So one of the things that I'm always very curious about with Call of Duty fans is this is a franchise that's very much maligned online. You get like online communities anytime Call of Duty comes up. In fact, we just did a news story about the fact that Hummer is suing Activision over using not in Call of Duty World War II, but in other Call of Duties that they use Hummers. It's not a licensed thing, and so like, oh, you're stealing our stuff. And the response to something like that is, good, I hate Activision, or I hate Call of Duty.
Yeah.
And fuck Call of Duty. I hope Hummer wins. I'm like, no one has ever cheered for Hummer to win, first of all.
Yeah. They need this.
The battle of the most hated.
Yeah, they don't exist anymore. I don't think, right?
No, you can't buy new ones, I think.
Yeah, I think it's,
So I don't know. I guess Hummer needs some money.
Yeah.
How can we do that? Well, but the response is always people who are actively hoping.
Rooting against.
Yeah, they're rooting against Call of Duty. They want it to fail, which is always very interesting. So if you're a Call of Duty fan, like, does that matter remotely?
It's one of those
To
things I
you?
feel like Call of Duty fans, and I definitely hated on Call of Duty fans for like the past like probably 3 games of just like, COD, like.
Same thing over
You
again.
know, it's kind
whatever.
of like WoW like players. You know, you have the sort of like stigma of certain people who play certain games, or like League of Legends. I think COD definitely has it the worst, and it's still that for some reason there's no function in the settings to just always have people's mics muted. You have to do it every like new round. Like I just that's my first thing is like mute everybody because I don't want to hear these people like pass the bong, bro, and like people like playing music in the
PUBG,
background.
that is persistent setting. You can mute global chat and it stays muted.
I wish that was a thing. I looked through the settings for like 45 minutes when I first got it, and it doesn't exist. And please, Activision, let me mute other people. I don't want to hear them. But it's an interesting fan base, but I would say a vast majority of people just, play the game and have fun with it. But man, that vocal minority is very vocal.
It is. It does seem like one of the reasons that Call of Duty just continues to sell so widely, even though there are so many people that like to complain about it online, is that you kind of know what you're getting with it.
Yeah.
If you buy one game a year, you're like, you know exactly what you're getting with Call of Duty.
Yeah.
It's probably the same reason that sports titles do so well, even though they're quite iterative as well. Is like, you know exactly what you're getting. Just get the new version.
Yeah. There were no surprises, exactly. And the surprises for this game were pleasant surprises of like, oh, war mode is fun. Like, headquarters is kind of neat, I think kind of unnecessary. And I don't know how I feel about it, but it's neat and it's new. And
The one thing that might sell me on playing Call of Duty this time around is the fact that David Tennant
yes, is
in
in
it.
zombies mode, yes.
and I will follow that man pretty much anywhere.
I mean, Jeff Goldblum was in the last one. It did make me pick it up. But
Wasn't also Kit Harington in the last one?
Yeah,
he wasn't in
the-
zombies mode, but he was the
he was the bad
antagonist
dude
in
in the
campaign.
campaign.
And just looked exactly like Jon Snow, which I'm sure they just.
evil.
Well, but he
Snow
looked
in
like
space.
he looked like
Space Snow.
frozen
Space
Jon
Snow.
Snow,
Space.
just like
Yeah, he was always like.
just like,
He always had stuff in it. I mean, it's Kit Harington.
yeah, it's
Frozen
true.
snow.
That's
Yeah, that's kind of how he talks. Anyways,
Yeah.
that's my Kit Harington.
So overall, you're enjoying it?
I'm enjoying it. I'm going to keep playing it. I don't know how much I'll keep playing it once Battlefront 2 comes out, because again, I like kind of EA and DICE's shooters more, because they're more cinematic, like more grand scale. And in Star Wars.
Yeah,
You
Star
can't-
Wars.
You can't beat
Yeah.
Star Wars.
Well, you can, but they're called the prequels.
Exactly. Oof.
They beat themselves.
Oof.
You can beat Star Wars. The prequels, they suck.
Oh,
They're bad.
yeah. Okay, I was like, okay.
But I'm
No,
still,
we're on the same.
Get on the
We're
same
back
page.
on. We're back on the same page. Okay.
but yeah, I'm still enjoying it immensely. It looks pretty. It sounds
Gameplay's
great.
good.
The gameplay is Call of Duty.
Just
which
mute
is,
everyone and then
just
you
mute
can have fun.
everybody and you'll have a good time.
What platform are you playing on?
PlayStation 4,
Okay.
PS4,
Yeah.
PS4 Pro.
PS4 Pro. I do have that 4K HDR and it looks real good.
That was going to be my
Looks
follow-up
real
question.
good.
Okay.
Games that don't launch with HDR, I'm like, ugh, that's like one of the big selling points for me is to have HDR.
I think we'll see a lot more of it by next holiday season. I
Yeah,
think
I'm
we're
surprised
at that point.
Destiny 2 still doesn't have it. They said that they are trying to get it in there, but I'm surprised. I was hoping that with Xbox One X they would have it.
I think that's going to be the big driver. It's like if someone was going to develop HDR before, they were looking at a fractured support for it.
Exactly.
Now that you'll see it across, both consoles and PC, obviously, I think it'll be.
Do you play consoles with HDR?
They'll still be niche.
No,
I
I don't.
think. Like PS4 Pro is not selling PS4 numbers, and Xbox One X, it's not going to sell Xbox One numbers just because they are, it's additional. It's more powerful hardware and it's awesome. But if you don't have a 4K HDR TV, do
You're
you
not reaping
need
the
it?
benefits.
Yeah.
Although most games do super sample down to that 1080 and they look a little bit sharper, but it's definitely, I think HDR is the biggest game change over 4K. 4K, like I have kind of bad vision, so I can't really tell that much. I'm like, it's kind of sharper, but
If we all had bad vision, we wouldn't necessarily need resolution because we can't see it all anyway.
exactly. Everything's
Just think about
720.
how much money it could save you.
That's
to
why
be,
old people still
like-
have SD, right?
Heck yeah.
Right, they're like, okay.
I
Anyway.
can't tell the difference.
Don't need 4K TV when you have bad vision. Cool.
All right, well, thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
It always helps to have someone who's like really into a specific
Yes.
franchise when you know that something is like it's coming out and it's gonna be cool, you know, and or it's really big and you feel, I don't know, sometimes I feel like a hipster douchebag being like, excuse me, have you seen my farm?
Yeah.
But no, I haven't played Call of Duty, and I feel like an asshole.
What I like about Call of Duty, like even though I don't play it, I like that it's available because like for me, a big problem with Call of Duty is I can't see well, and so I'm like, I'm like, well, that entire screen is gray and muddy. Whereas like, I mean, for me it's Overwatch. I can see bright, colorful characters, but I like that there's still like extremely tactical, like more down to earth game that exists for people.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, and I think that Call of Duty is I think good for the industry to have in that it's a huge franchise. I think that Activision, you know, we criticize them, I think fairly, for a lot of practices that Activision has, but then they also do, for Call of Duty specifically, a lot of work to benefit veterans.
Yes.
You know, which isn't something that they have to do, but I like that they do it. It makes me, you know, appreciate them more in that way, and I also think that it's really good for us to have, I think, battles, and I think that like the Battlefield Call of Duty thing is a positive for the entire industry because that's the sort of thing that drives innovation forward.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know, even if you have like, you know, and it's, you know, it's the same thing with console hardware. If you have someone to chase,
Yeah.
then everyone gets like just a little bit hungrier.
I mean, Edward just came in like talking about the war mode, where it's like, oh, if you like Battlefront, Battlefield, they're kind of starting to introduce something like that in Call of Duty, which, I mean, that's awesome if you can have the game that you like to play.
Yeah. When you said that, I was like, okay, I'm playing it tonight.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I like.
Let's do this.
Yeah, I like that. I want to try that.
Yeah, but you know, then also important is consoles pushing each other. You know, we're especially, this is timely because of the Xbox One X is just released. I'm not sure how sales are doing. Apparently, GameStop is saying that they sold out of their first shipment. They're going to get more in. It is available elsewhere, so it's not entirely sold out. So we're not looking at a Switch situation exactly, and we don't know how big those shipments are. But so far, the Xbox One X is being relatively positively received for the way it's iterating and improving on what PlayStation 4 Pro has done. So would actually love to take a little bit of time to talk about Xbox One X performance. And I was very unlucky, and I was traveling. Full disclosure, Microsoft sent Rooster Teeth several different Xbox One X's.
I got one.
You got one. The No received one, and we've been using it for testing.
No.
No?
I didn't get one.
Cool.
They didn't send it to animation.
I'm sorry to hear that. I know Achievement Hunter got a couple. So, you know, we've had some around the office pre-launch and have had
some
time to do, like unboxing. And also Eddie, in particular, has been doing a lot of testing between things like the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X. So, Eddie, you're here, right? Eddie, come on in, because
More people in the shadows.
Ooh,
more people.
the skulking corner.
And an Edward in the corner, and then now an Eddie in the
Eddie
corner.
in the corner. we're just doing, it's Eds all around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Ed, and Eddie.
the Xbox One X arrived. I was away, and I just started getting this message. I get the message from Eddie. Goes, hey, Xbox One X. And I got a message from Gus going, I want to unbox it. And so
Because I wanted to take mine home and then unbox yours.
Yeah, we thought you were going to bring yours to unbox.
No.
But no, you wanted to unbox ours in front of everybody.
Yeah.
So that was, you know.
I was already testing mine.
Yeah, and then fun fact, we had to box it back up and then re-unbox it for because you did like a stream,
And then
an unboxing stream, and then like an actual like unboxing video. So I had to like box it back up. Can you do that with
Movie
unboxings?
magic.
Because we did. You also could have used Bernie's probably.
We thought about it, but then.
And it's good.
felt
We
kinda
already
bad.
had it there.
Everything's in there. You don't want to open it up and be like, well, it's missing a controller. That's just the one shipment that missed a controller. So it's good to make sure everything's in there before.
Well, I mean,
Right.
that's on them.
No, although I
That's
did
true.
have.
I don't-
That's true. Yeah, you don't need to protect them.
I don't want to like portray it
Yeah.
like in a way that it didn't happen.
No. We have encountered like weird stuff in the past with promotional stuff. I remember Microsoft sent out some care packages for Destiny 2, and there were these really, really lovely controllers that they made through the design lab. They're white, and then they had a couple of complementary colors. I think they had 3. I think they had blue, they had red, and they had gold. And they were like, like white and then like an accent color, and so they sent them out. And I got this, like one of the care packages, which was very nice because we can always use more controllers in the office. Opened it up. It was not one of the promo controllers. It was like just some dude's controller.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Weird.
Like someone's name on it.
Yeah, it's like they had, you can get like you get
Yeah.
a little
Customization
name
and
customization printed on it. Well, it had like this dude's name, and I was like, I Googled this dude, and I was like, this is just like some dude. And so I had to call I called Microsoft, and I was like, this is really lovely. Thank you for the consideration, but I think I got someone's controller, and I feel terrible because they're probably missing it
I
right
think
now.
someone can't play their games right now because they don't
And
have a controller.
So I sent it back to him and everything. So that kind of mix-up can happen.
Yeah.
Didn't happen in the case of the
Yeah.
Xbox One X. It's a normal full retail box, and they also sent us a shit ton of games. You've been giving a bunch
A lot of
away.
games.
Yeah, I gave a bunch away. It was a non-Project Scorpio edition, we should say.
Yeah,
it was
just
a
a
normal
normal
Xbox One
edition.
X that you would get if you didn't pre-order.
Yeah, but you've been doing a whole bunch of comparisons and testing because earlier this year you got a fuck off awesome TV.
Yes.
You invested specifically for Horizon Zero Dawn, which you also bought a PS4 Pro to play to really
Yes.
get the best possible experience, right? So you took the Xbox One X home and did a whole bunch of HDR tests and all kinds of stuff. So talk to me, Goose.
Yeah, it was kind of weird because the whole rollout of the updates has been kind of strange. Like
Yeah.
they haven't been pushing the updates out kind of right alongside release.
The
It was kind
game
of weird.
updates?
I think
For the- yeah, for
I think the
the
Shadow of
HDR
War
stuff.
one just came out.
Yeah, like yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday. So and it was a 22 gig download or something like that.
Yeah,
Wow.
the updates are huge. Like the Gears of War 4 is like 100 something gigs. It's crazy.
That's the console doesn't have a big enough hard drive.
Not a very big hard drive.
Why did
It's 1
the-
terabyte.
Yeah,
Is that okay?
it's 1 terabyte by default. I did the network transfer to get everything off my Xbox One S. Well, my Xbox One S has a 2 terabyte hard drive, so
So it
I had to
couldn't fit anything.
I had to select a whole bunch of games to not transfer over.
And then Forza 7s is like also like 100 gigs. So they did the rollout
That's
kind of
so
weird.
big.
They're huge. I thought it was kind of strange that they sent all these games, but then they didn't have the updates ready for all of them yet, which
Yeah,
was
well,
kind of weird.
a lot of them were third party. I think
Yeah.
all the first party ones had the update ready, right? Like
Yes.
Halo 5 was in there
Yep.
and Gears of War.
Yeah,
and I think
Forza
those were both
also,
ready.
yeah.
Oh no, Forza, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I was able to test Assassin's Creed on PS4 Pro versus the Xbox One X, and then I was able to kind of test Gears of War 4. I did it in 1080p, and then I did it on the Xbox One S and the Xbox One X. And then Forza 7, which there wasn't there wasn't much of a comparison for, but that game kind of blew everything else out of the water, which was pretty cool. It was weird. Assassin's Creed Origins, comparing, it was nice because I was able to literally swap my inputs back and forth and look at the same spots in the game, almost imperceptible in terms of differences.
I thought
Between
what-
PS4 Pro and Xbox One X?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought
Yeah.
you. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I heard the big deal, the big difference between a standard Xbox One and PS4 and the Pro and the X was HDR for Origins. Is that HDR was the big thing, less so resolution.
But then you get
Yeah,
HDR
yeah.
for both PS4 Pro and Xbox.
Right, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
X.
So if you're someone that hasn't experienced HDR before, it's definitely going to be something that pops. The cheesy word, but it definitely pops when you see HDR for the first time and you haven't experienced that before.
So let's talk about your HDR real quick, though.
Yeah.
So you don't have do you have HDR capable TV?
Yeah, I think I do.
Okay. So it's a 4K TV.
Yes.
And you think it's HDR, but you haven't really looked at HDR
Is it
stuff
HDR
yet.
10?
I'm not sure.
So
I never
that's
looked
one of
for it.
the confusing things is they only recently settled on a standard for what HDR actually means.
Yeah.
And when you plug your Xbox One X in, you can test it.
Yes.
It's
your
pretty cool.
television, and it
Okay.
tells you, what graphic fidelity you'll be able to get.
Yeah, it's like
with your
it supports
television.
this. Check, check, check. Nope.
I'll have to go look. I think it is. I think it has some support because there's a setting on my TV that I was like, oh, I think it was HDR, and I was like, okay, it was on automatic.
Do you think HDR, for someone who, you don't use it at the moment, does it appeal to you? Does the idea of HDR appeal to you?
For me, yeah, just because I always I go for the truest colors, and so I want to see that.
I see your true colors.
But I can also see how it's I also enjoy playing portable mode on the Switch, so we're not getting the best image there.
So you're happy to trade off for the experience.
Yeah, to me it's 100% gameplay, and whether it's fun. But I can see like a game like Shadow of War, I might like that a lot better with an HDR, where kind of was talking about with Call of Duty, where it's like very same colors all the time. I would wonder if that would like bring out some of the variation and make it a bit more colorful.
Yeah, the contrast is really nice in a lot of HDR games. So like I barely played any of Resident Evil 7 because I can't do scary games, but like the super high contrast of like really dark and light areas was like really cool in Resident Evil 7.
So that
for that reason.
that appeals to me.
Yeah, that kind of stuff is pretty cool.
So a lot of stuff with HDR is you get in a normal TV, you sort of get crushed along the edges, right? So with bright colors, they'll all kind of seem the same, like the same shade of white, or with dark colors, like, or a dark game like you get with a Resident Evil or any horror title, really, they all get these crushed blacks. So you can't see anything. And then that's the point of HDR, right, is to make it so you can see the shadows.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Super dark, super brights.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Such a true black. Awesome.
So performance-wise, was there anything major you noticed between PS4 Pro and Xbox One X? Like any games where there was a notable, visible difference?
Not particularly with the ones I tried. Shadow of War, sorry, the update wasn't out yet. But even when I was like testing it, it did seem like it was handling the frame rate better. But then Assassin's Creed Origin, same thing, frame rate appeared to be a little bit better, but like visually it was just like, okay, these look about the same. And I thought maybe I was crazy and I was doing one of the like, I can't see the difference things, but like Digital Foundry released their kind of analysis today and they kind of basically said the same thing.
Yeah, and if they're saying it, you know that.
I was like, oh, thank
they're
God,
dead
I'm not
on,
like a crazy person. But yeah, the really cool stuff was the first party stuff. Like Gears of War 4 was like miles better on the Xbox One X versus the S. And then Forza 7, again, I didn't really have anything to compare it to, but it was like far and away the best thing that I've viewed like on my TV yet.
That's one of the common points of feedback about Forza 7 is that regardless of whether you're into racing games, regardless of what you think about the games themselves, it looks absolutely stunning. Didn't you say like your wife walked through the room and saw it and this is the first time she's ever looked at a game and been like, holy shit.
Yeah. So she's always kind of like, oh, you have your TV and your whatever, and it's fine. And like,
games.
I showed her Horizon Zero Dawn, and she was like, oh yeah, that's really pretty. And I was like, no, you don't understand. It's amazing. But then I was playing Forza, and then she walked in and like, she had like laundry or something and like set it down and then like sat down and watched, and she was like, I can't believe this. So she was like, she was really stunned by it. I had tried out Gran Turismo Sport recently, and its use of HDR is really awesome, but it doesn't have the frame rate that like Forza does. So that like 60 FPS, like 4K HDR, it was ridiculous to look at.
The one thing I've noticed, my biggest complaint with the Xbox One X so far is, and we talked about this in the unboxing stream, was the original Xbox One and the Xbox One S both have that large fan on top. And it's big and it rotates slowly, so because of its size, it's able to move a lot of air. So I keep my Xbox in a closed-off entertainment center. So the thing I like about my Xbox One versus my PS4 is my Xbox One, I never heard it. Even when I was playing a game, it was dead silent. My PS4, I always have to open up, that way you can
get like the jet engine
ventilation.
sound.
Yeah.
The Xbox One X does not have that fan, and I can hear it. It's not as loud as my PS4, and it's not like terribly distracting, but if I'm watching TV or Netflix or like something low power, I never hear it. But as soon as I start playing a game that is a lot more intensive, then I can hear that Xbox One X in the entertainment center. Again, not as loud as my PS4, and it's not super distracting, but I can hear it, and I never heard it in the past. And it's probably the biggest complaint I have about it.
My PS4 Pro is like super loud. Like I feel like it's more loud than my PS4 was. Like it always sounds like a jet engine, like trying to lift off out of my entertainment center when I'm playing games.
Yeah. So that's, again, if you have a well-ventilated entertainment, I know my entertainment center is a problem. I know that it's closed off. If you have a situation like me, it may be something you want to think about.
Yeah, and this isn't really an issue once you get it out and get it set up, because unless you're the Switch, you put the console down and then it doesn't move.
Yeah.
But it is extraordinarily heavy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which oddly enough kind of makes me like it, because it's this really stupid sort of consumer like that sort of like justification
Doesn't feel
of
flimsy.
spend.
It's-
Yeah, I'm
It's like the Jurassic
I was
Park.
gonna
Is
say
it
it's like
heavy?
Jurassic Park. It's heavy, that
I'm
means it's expensive. Put
yeah,
it down.
I'm like, oh yeah, a lot went into this. Look, oh, feel how much hardware it's got.
No wasted space.
Yeah.
I got
Yeah.
all of
this weighs about 6 teraflops.
So it is pretty beefy. I'm very curious how long it'll be before we start hearing about whether it's bulletproof. I remember the stories about the original Xbox, not the original
right.
Xbox One, but the original
Original
Xbox. And you'd hear all these stories like, Xbox survives shooting in an apartment and it ricocheted off and it still works. And you'd get all these crazy stories because it was built like a tank. And I'm very curious if that's the case with something like this, just because it's so dense hardware-wise,
Right.
or if it means it's delicate as all hell.
We'll
We're
find
gonna,
out.
we're gonna be wrapping them in
pretty sturdy.
towels in no time.
I mean, at home, I was throwing it up in the air to myself to see if it was fine.
Playing catch with
Yeah.
it.
Go on.
So, any final thoughts on PS4 Pro versus Xbox One X? Do you think that for being a year later and for its price point, Xbox One X is a good investment? One, for people who haven't got an Xbox yet, and two, if you do already have an Xbox, is it worth the upgrade?
I feel like if you don't have an Xbox yet, it's definitely like a great upgrade. Especially if you have a TV that can handle everything it does. Like it's just, like it's so hard to describe, and it stinks because it's really hard to display HDR stuff, like even on the web.
Well, it's like, you know what I feel like is that it's kind of like selling 3D in 2D.
Yeah.
It's like you don't, or selling VR using a normal screen. It's like
Yeah.
you can't show the experience. So it can be like, look, with HDR, without HDR, and it's like, if you don't have HDR,
Yeah.
they're gonna look the same.
Well, and so what my worry was after like investing in the PS4 Pro and the TV and stuff, that I was gonna like load everything up and I was gonna like pull up Assassin's Creed Origins and I was gonna be like, shit, this looks so much better, and now I've got to do this as well. But I feel like if you already have something that will meet that need, that it's not really worth the upgrade.
So it's not necessarily worth moving from a PS4 Pro to an Xbox One X.
Yeah, at least not from what I've seen. I mean, the first party stuff looked really amazing, but again, they're first party stuff.
Yeah.
For me, I think it'll probably take one game that I'll be like, okay, fine, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, if you were already on the PlayStation platform,
Yeah.
you weren't getting those games anyway, so you're not missing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Thanks, Eddie.
Yeah, thank you.
And I think that about does it for this episode. Actually, we're gonna answer some questions that people have sent in New Game Plus, which is our post show exclusively for Rooster Teeth First members. However, before we go, I want to encourage everyone to visit the RT store. We can sponsor ourselves. Right?
Yeah, why not?
Fuck yeah, we can. Look, the Rooster Teeth store has new merch every single week. They've got a ton of stuff. I don't know if anyone caught the On the Spot episode, the Australian one, but they actually have the platypuses, which are actually Camp platypi. Platypi?
Yeah.
Platypussy? And so they've got all kinds of crazy new merch every single week, and it's stuff like that. Or, there's stuff like t-shirts and hoodies and collectibles and socks and all kinds of stuff. And it's also, we're getting into the holiday season, so if you have a friend or loved one who's a Rooster Teeth fan, you're pretty secure on getting something that they're gonna like from the store. And if you are a Rooster Teeth First member, you automatically get 5% off at checkout, which is another bonus. So it's one of those like, the more you spend, the more you save kind of things,
Pays
right?
for itself.
It pays for itself.
You would lose money by not doing it.
Yes.
Yeah, which is the way that sales work for sure. And it's also, if you want to check it out, we've got Extra Life this weekend. By the time this episode hits YouTube, we will be going live with Extra Life, actually. So Extra Life will be our 24-hour live stream benefiting Dell's Children's Hospital here in Austin, Texas. We're trying to raise $1 million this year. We generally put everyone at Rooster Teeth through some terrible ringers to make that happen. Last year we tased Michael, which honestly we probably would have done for free, but we got to do it for
Wait,
the
was
kids.
that last year or the year before?
It was the year before.
Yeah, it was
The year before?
Last
What
year
did we
we
do
found
last year? Oh, last year was the Cheese Master.
No, that
That was 2 years ago.
Damn it.
That was a year. That was a big year. I think
That was a big year.
last year we found about Iris.
Oh, that's right. Last year was Iris year. But we have all kinds of ridiculous shenanigans that we'll pull during Extra Life. And during Extra Life, one of the things that you can do with the Rooster Teeth store is you can buy, we have a limited edition poster that you can buy that will only be available during that stream. And it's really cool. It's like Rooster Teeth Land, and there's a little the No building in there. You can see us with our little orange gear, and then we've got like camp stuff and Ruby stuff and Laser Team stuff and Red versus Blue and all kinds of like fun references in that poster, which will only be available in the Rooster Teeth store for that period of time. So make sure that you check it out. It's a lot of fun, and I really, really hope that you join us for Extra Life. It's going to be a big, fun year. We're trying to raise a lot of money for the kids, and we will have no dignity whatsoever. We will do whatever it takes to raise that money for kids. So please join us for that.
Y'all have a no segment, right?
Yeah, we do. I think we're on 2 p.m. Central Time. Mika's planning it, so if I have any guesses, we're all going to be dressed as anime girls.
Kawaii.
I like that.
So we'll see what that ends up looking like. But if you have suggestions for any stunts that we should pull or things that we should do or entries for our wheel of, what are we calling it this year? Is it the Wheel of Destiny, the Wheel of Vengeance, the Wheel of
Destiny.
Do something terrible to yourself?
The Wheel of Destiny 2.
Wheel of Destiny 2.
There you go.
So if you have any of those, leave them in comments or tweet us, and we will hopefully see you on the Extra Life stream and on the Rooster Teeth store to get your exclusive poster. Thank you guys so much. Love you.
Bye.